Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Give Up the Family Dog for Adoption Behind My Family's Back? I'm a 38-year-old female, and I live with my husband, a 41-year-old male, and two teenage children, 16-year-old female and a 14-year-old male. Initially, my husband was the one who came up with the idea to adopt a dog, and I thought it was okay. So we brought up this idea to our kids, and they were very excited, so we all came to the unanimous decision to go ahead and adopt a dog. We adopted Lulu, a very high-energy golden retriever pup. Now, this was back in March, before the pandemic, so as far as taking care of the puppy, everything was going smoothly. Lulu is basically my daughter's best friend, and she loves her. This is where things take a turn. A few months go by, and I notice everyone has started to become lazy in terms of taking care of the dog. Now, with the pandemic in place, it's almost as if the dog has become non-existent. I work from home pretty much most of the day, busy with important calls and meetings. Both of my children now attend school online, and my husband is at work the whole day and comes home later around 9 p.m. As I am busy with work, I am the one who is paying attention and tending to the dog's care and needs. I am the one who takes the dog to her vet appointments, buys her food, and watches her the majority of the day, and my kids claim to love her so much, but don't offer at least to take her to the bathroom or walks when they're done with school, and I'm still busy at work. I think my husband has now forgotten that we have a dog. Even on his days off, I get no help. I am overwhelmed by this, so I came up with the ultimatum to both my kids and husbands. Help me take care of the dog or I will give her up. This seemed to work for the first few days, but after a few, it went back to being the same, and I am tired. I myself really love the dog, I do, but since my family won't follow through with taking care of her even after asking them to, I thought about just giving her away without them knowing. Get in my car, drop her off at a shelter, and go about my day until they begin to notice the dog's absence. So will I be a jerk for doing it behind their back? Here's the problem I have with this scenario is it seems like you're trying to punish your family for their lack of caring for the dog by punishing your dog, essentially. Now, you love your dog, and the rest of the family presumably loves the dog as well. And I think that this is a bit of a rash move to take, and I think it's a bit of a harmful move for the dog too. Like, the dog doesn't choose to be not paid attention to by the rest of the family. I think in a case like this, what you should do is you should set up a chore schedule and make sure that people are doing their chores. And, set it up so that on Mondays you have one person take care of the dog, on Tuesdays the next person takes care of the dog, and so on and so forth. That way they know when it's their responsibility and when they have to do it. I think that's going to go a lot further towards getting them to help and be motivated than just threatening to take away the dog if people don't start to participate. So yeah, I do think you would be a jerk if you did this, especially since there are still other avenues for which you can explore towards getting the dog taken care of. But again, I really think it's in poor taste to punish a dog because of your family members' lack of cooperation. But I also can understand if it's an overwhelming situation for you. So yeah, anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for asking my boyfriend to help me repay for some of my makeup that he accidentally broke? Okay, so I already probably sound like a jerk, and I feel as though I am too, because it was an accident. I just think I need somebody to bring it home for me. Whenever my boyfriend trims his beard, he likes to clear off a section of the sink. On that section, he usually sits my makeup bag, toothbrush pot, and some skincare bits. He usually puts all this stuff on the literal edge of the side of the sink. I always tell him to please not do that with my makeup bag at the very least, because it's full of expensive clique makeup products that cost around 200 pounds. I'm 19, I can't afford to replace all that easily. I worked my butt off to save enough to get myself those makeup products as is. Anyways, as you probably know what's coming, once again, he was trimming his beard, and after a million times of me not telling him not to put my makeup on the edge of the counter, he did it again, and surprise, surprise, It fell and a majority smashed. The powders, highlighter, eyeshadow all broken into little pieces. The foundation bottle broke in half. The only salvageable things in there were mascara and an eyeliner and 2 lipsticks. I was devastated. He told me I shouldn't be so emotionally invested in monetary objects and said if I didn't want it to fall, I should have moved it somewhere else in the first place. Well, but he's the one who moved it. I asked him if he could help me replace at least the foundation and eyeshadow, but he said it wasn't his fault because it was an accident. Am I the jerk for asking in the first place? Edit. Just to clarify where my makeup bag sat, it was in a very safe position on my side of the counter. I told him that when he trims his beard, he can move the makeup anywhere on the sink, just not on the edge. Our sink is one of those double counter ones, so there's plenty of space to put things on. Edit 2, to add on from the first edit, as I was asked to do this bit, we have one sink which has a counter space on both sides. On one end is his, and he doesn't like moving everything and getting his beard hairs on his stuff, so he uses my side when shaving, which is much more minimalistic, so he only has to move the makeup bag, which always goes on the edge for whatever godforsaken reason. So he moved your stuff because he's too lazy to move his stuff, and then he broke your stuff. Final edit. Well, I brought it up again after all your comments, and he's not budging on helping with the cost. And the biggest thing of all, a lot of you were right. It wasn't an accident. I'll leave it at that. Whoa. Thanks to all of you, I've come to realize that this may not be the healthiest relationship to be in. I've spoken to my mom, and she knows what's going on, and I'll probably be gathering my things to move out soon. I definitely wasn't expecting for this to take such a turn today, but I'm thankful for all of your comments and to the people who private messaged me with helpful resources. So thank you all for taking the time out of your day to write and reply me. Wow, that's horrifying. I can't believe this guy. So no, I mean, to answer your initial question, no, you're not a jerk for asking him to pay for makeup that he broke. One, he moved the stuff, and it was in a safe spot, but then he moved it to an unsafe spot. And two, well, if this hadn't been on purpose, which it sounds like now, he actually literally smashed it on purpose, then it would have been, his fault for moving it into an unsafe spot. He could have moved it anywhere else except for on the edge of that counter. Maybe you could have moved it onto a toilet, or onto the floor, or any number of places where it wouldn't have been at risk of falling down and smashing. And the thing is, his comments about being attached to monetary possessions, and I think that kind of feeds into this whole him doing it on purpose. He probably saw this as you being attached to expensive monetary things, and maybe in some twisted way he was seeing himself as doing you a favor by helping you get rid of this stuff, but that's just nonsense. And I'm just speculating here. So yeah, I'm really happy to hear that you're moving out, because this guy does not sound like a great person if he smashed $200 worth of your property on purpose. So yeah, and plus, him using your side of the sink because he's too lazy to clean up his side of the sink? I mean, come on. This spells disaster. Well, anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for hiding from my wife the reason why our son got kicked out of a restaurant? Our son told me the truth, but did not tell her because he was afraid of his mom's reaction. Ordinarily, I would have told my wife, but the situation ultimately was a misunderstanding and something I was able to quickly resolve with the restaurant owner. He and his friends had gone to eat at a place, and apparently my son decided to make a joke and hit on his waitress. Other things were said too, but his was the one that upset her and resulted in her telling the owner. It wasn't a bad joke, or what I consider to be sexist, but it was in poor taste. When she told the owner, he got upset and he asked the boys to leave. They were all embarrassed and told us that they left because they weren't feeling well instead of the real reason. At least at first. My son told me what really happened, and one of his friends ended up also telling his mom the truth after she questioned his story. By the time he confessed, I'd already talked with my son and the owner of the restaurant and worked things out. My son and the rest of the boys aren't banned from the restaurant, and everything is fine now. I saw no reason to involve my wife with this because she would have escalated this when our son was already embarrassed and had his lesson learned. There wasn't anything else to say or do. My wife disagrees and thinks I'm a jerk for hiding the truth from her and enabling our son's sexism, as she puts it. I don't think so. I've actually done anything except teach him that he can say and do what he wants without consequences. This is basically because I didn't punish him and convince the restaurant owner to look the other way. In this case, I didn't feel more needed to be said or done because what he said wasn't really that bad and he seemed sorry. Now that the other parents know what's happened and everyone is split, most of the dads agree with me and have similar views while the moms are taking the side of my wife. So am I the jerk? Edit. Since some of you are asking for the joke, the waitress they had was Indian. So my son said that he no longer felt like he was in the mood for Italian and wanted that instead. And then he asked her if she could help him with that. All right. So I think here's the thing. If all the dads are siding on one side and all the moms are siding on the other side and the women all think that this is a sexist joke, and the dads are all like, oh no, this isn't sexist. Maybe, just maybe, just maybe, you should reconsider your position here. I mean, your son said something that was extraordinarily inappropriate. He wanted to hide it from his mom because he knew that she was going to react poorly to it. And you wanted to hide it from her because you were like, well, she'll react poorly to this too. You know that this is sexist. You know that she wasn't going to take this well. And yet you still hid it from her because you were hoping that he wasn't going to, be embarrassed more? Your son needs to be embarrassed about this. It wasn't an appropriate comment. And he made his waitress feel uncomfortable. And he's the one who should be apologizing to her, not you sweeping this under the rug and, having everything just fine and honky-dory from now on. So no, I think you are a jerk, and I think that your son needs to go to the waitress and apologize what I think should happen here. And I don't think you should have hid this from your wife. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for using details from my divorce in a book I wrote? I'm a 38-year-old female, and my marriage ended 5 years ago after I learned that my ex-husband was cheating on me with someone who I considered to be one of my best friends. It broke my heart, and I was angry. My biggest source of anger came from the frustration that I had to co-parent with him and the fact that she was going to be my kid's stepmom after everything she had did to me. I was so angry that I wrote a novel and got a lot of my anger and frustration out in that. The book wasn't much, but I self-published it a year after the divorce. Thinking nothing of it, I made some pocket change on it and mostly forgot it existed. I didn't use their names or anything, but there are some details that are unique to us, or at least would not be details in every cheating situation with a friend. My ex's wife picked up my book during lockdown and they put the pieces together. I denied it, but he said he knew it was me and he was furious. He was furious that I would put something out like that about them and risk the kids finding it. He accused me of trying to feed his kids information that would turn them against him and his wife. But the book is under a pen name that has nothing to do with me, and my kids do not know I wrote a book. They also know that their dad cheated. They were old enough to put the pieces together when Dad moved out in June and was engaged in July. I have told them that any issue between their father and I are not about them, and they do not have to hate him for me. That conversation killed me, but for them I had it. X claims I was reckless and selfish for me to do it, and I told him he had no right to judge me. Do you guys think he's right and that I should never have published it? Nobody else would know about it but the three of us, and it's not all that huge. It sold very little, and I'm not leaving copies in my home. Am I a jerk? No, not at all. I have no idea how she managed to find this book. And maybe she was looking online and purchased it, or any number of things, or maybe you gave her a copy. I don't know. But I find it a little odd that she acquired a copy and then somehow put it together. But with all that aside, no, you're not the jerk. And as long as they don't reveal that they were the characters in this book, then you have nothing to worry about and they have nothing to worry about. You've told your children that everything between you and their father is between you and their father. And you told your kids not to hate him and just to kind of move on. And you've moved on and you wrote your book and you got all your anger and frustration out. And I think that was healthy. I think that was a healthy way to resolve this issue for you. And I think it probably went a long way towards allowing you to move on. Where I think your ex-husband is coming from is that he feels guilty. He feels like a bad person when he reads the details in the book. And yeah, he should feel bad. He should feel guilty. And that book is probably a reminder to him how much hurt and pain he caused you. And that's probably very uncomfortable for him. So that's his problem. That's not your problem anymore. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right. Our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Asking My Girlfriend to Take a Break from College? I am a 28-year-old male, and my 19-year-old girlfriend moved in with me recently. Her parents didn't approve of our relationship, and she moved out so we could continue our relationship. We both split the rent. Recently, I lost my job due to a disagreement with management. I asked my girlfriend if she could cover my half of the rent while I search for a new job. She knows that finding a job can be difficult for me due to a felony I received when I was young and full of mistakes. She told me she wouldn't be able to make enough money because she's a full-time student right now. I told her to take a break for the time being so she could support us through this tough time. She told me absolutely no, that her degree is way more important. She told me that if I wasn't able to cover my portion of the rent, she would just move back in with her parents. She's not on the lease. I told her she made a commitment to me when she moved in, that we are partners living together in this apartment, and I expected her to be there for me. Am I a jerk for asking her to take a break from college to help with the bills? If she's in the middle of a semester right now, she's already put that money down. You're expecting her to throw away thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the college, of dollars worth of tuition just so that you two can continue to rent. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but she's got goals, she's got ambitions, and she has a future that she wants to pursue. If you can't find a job, then find any job. There are lots of jobs out there, and maybe you're just going to have to settle for something that pays less than what you would normally be, interested in. Or maybe you can beg your old job for a job back. And again, it says you recently lost your job due to a disagreement with management. That means that at some point in time, you had a job and you knew that it would be difficult for you to find a new job if you lost your job, but you still chose to argue and disagree with the management and then were fired. That is not necessarily the wisest way of pursuing a new job. So one thing about jobs and employment are that you should always have a job lined up before you leave your current job. And I know that that's sometimes really frustrating, but unless you have massive amounts of money saved up and can just move from one job to another job, in 6 months or however long, you need to have a job lined up before you leave your current job. And sometimes, it's bad that you have to put your head down and kind of deal with management as it is, but unless you're part of the upper class here, and most of us aren't, you're going to have to, just kind of deal with the situation until you can find something better. Asking your girlfriend to, put her dreams on hold because you were irresponsible and, ended up getting fired, that's just not a reasonable thing. I think that she has her own place that she can move into. She was not on the lease. She doesn't have any responsibility to you. And when you say recently, how recently is this? Did she move in and then, a week later you lose your job? Because that's probably not what she was signing up for when she moved in with you. Relationships require a lot of trust, and in part of that trust is that you're going to be able to help provide the rent. She's able to provide her part of the rent, and part of the agreement that you two had, I'm sure, was that you were going to split the rent. Because you can't split the rent, you can't expect her to now cover everything here. So yeah, I think that you've made a lot of mistakes here, and I don't think should be forced to, compensate for the mistakes that you've made. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. Also, if you made it this far, thanks for watching the whole video. I appreciate it. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I did release 2 videos yesterday, and one of them was explaining the reason why I'm no longer using Reddit comments in these videos. So if that's interesting to you, check that out. But otherwise, check out the other video. Anyhow, take care, and I'll see you all tomorrow.